Commonly, Sikhism mistaken for Islam. It was really big after 9/11 because you saw these photos of Osama bin Laden wearing a turban, and automatically everyone assumed if you were wearing a turban, you were a Muslim.
So you will never cut your hair?
No, never.
And if you live to be 100?
It just hangs out. It was 2008, I think. That's when Osama bin Laden was killed, and it was preschool. And a girl came up to me, and she was like, "I'm so sorry, your daddy died." One of the first deaths after 9/11, immediately after, was a Sikh man. He was a taxi driver. We believe there's one God, which is a big belief in us. So we're saying, like, whether you follow Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, whatever the religion may be, it's our belief that no one is necessarily wrong.
Sikhism is a very peaceful religion, though.
It's a peaceful religion. If I could compare it to any religion, I'd do it to Buddhism. You never want to engage first, but if someone is persecuting you, if someone's coming after you, you're supposed to stand up and fight back. There, you can always get a free meal, 24/7, 365, constantly. One of the things about wearing a turban is it's a very difficult thing to do. I don't think that it's an easy thing to do necessarily, just because I do know Sikhs who go to the school who don't wear it. They wear a hat instead. Or they'll tie their hair back and put a bandana on, or one of those things, because it is hard to just stick out.
All right, man. So I'm going to have a conversation with two gentlemen. Class, why do you wear that? Dude, why do you wear that? That's the title of today's class. And you're going to answer it, and then Jasim's going to answer it. All right, man. Answer the question, my friend.
On the most simple explanation I can give to that is just religion. Commonly, we're Sikhs. I'm a Sikh. We follow Sikhi. Commonly, we're mistaken.
Wait, how do you pronounce it?
Sikhi.
Sikhi. Sikhi.
Commonly, Sikhism mistaken for Islam. It was really big after 9/11 because you saw these photos of Osama bin Laden wearing a turban, and automatically everyone assumed if you were wearing a turban, you were a Muslim. But I'm a Sikh. My family's from India. And one of the core beliefs that Sikh men, or Sikh values, is that we wear a turban. And underneath the turban, my hair's never been cut. So my hair goes down to about my hips, and it's never been cut since birth. So
never been cut even since birth?
Never been cut.
Yeah. So you will never cut your hair?
No, never.
And if you live to be 100?
It just hangs out.
But it stops growing.
Yeah, it's stopped growing. So now it's some people have really, we call it heavy hair, and their hair just extremely long. But my hair has stopped growing for the past few years. It's kind of just hangs around my hips. But I tie it up all the time, so it really doesn't come in my way. Sometimes I forget I have long hair.
How is it to wear a turban, man?
So I'm from a place called Symbolism, New Jersey, and that town, or the city, or the town that I grew up in from around second grade, so 8 years old to all the way to 18, basically, it's about 96% white, and it's one of it's one of the only red counties in New Jersey. And growing up, at least for my first few years of elementary school and growing up in a town like that, one of the earliest forms of just not even racism, I just think we're just kids, it's exposure.
Kids. Yeah.
Was 2008, I think. That's when Osama bin Laden was killed, and it was preschool. And a girl came up to me, and she was like, "I'm so sorry, your daddy died." And at that point, I knew something had happened, but I looked at her and I was like, "What? My dad just dropped me off. I don't know what you're talking about." And another factor to add on that, my father cut his hair in 2001 around the 9/11 attacks because he used to work in the city, and having a turban at the time was a dangerous thing to have. It was,
if you don't know, quite a number after 9/11, a number of Sikhs were killed. Thinking you were Muslim. Completely different religion.
One of the first deaths after 9/11, immediately after, was a Sikh man. He was a taxi driver. But my dad has his hair, he had his hair cut, and my brother cut his hair when he was a sophomore. He had your class too. But growing up, so from the ages of around 8, 9, when my brother was in high school, I was the only one in my family who wore a turban, and all of my like uncles, aunts, they were all in India. So like growing up, even in school, I was the only kid wearing a turban. I think in this class, I probably am, and I think on campus as well, usually. There's a very small number. There's a very small number of Sikhs on campus or like around my area as well. But growing up, it's always been like sticking out like a sore thumb wherever I go.
And it's okay. And so the purpose of not cutting your hair, okay? Can you just say something about that?
So Sikhi starts with Guru Nanak Dev Ji. He was like, so we have 10 gurus basically, and one of our big principles is Ek Onkar, which means we believe there's one God, which is a big belief in us. So we're saying like whether you follow Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, whatever the religion may be, it's our belief that no one is necessarily wrong. They're all just praising one God, and they all have their own way of achieving safety or whatever you want to call it.
Achieving, like a divine elevation.
A divine elevation, yeah.
You could say that.
But Sikhs the turban comes in a very historical context. If you go to the Middle East or even Asia, the turban, just an overall turban, is a very common thing.
Yeah.
So around 1400s, which was our first guru, he started wearing a turban, and it's believed that that was one form of just identifying a Sikh, somebody who's a follower of the religion. But it was our 10th guru, which was Guru Gobind Singh Ji, who initiated that any Sikh man should wear a turban, not only because you can recognize a Sikh wherever you go, but also a Sikh symbol is a double-edged sword, 2 swords and a throwing disc. And that's because our religion is born out of a lot of violence, a lot of fighting, especially with the Mughals, the Mughal Empire. And during war, with this belief that you would wear a turban, they needed a way, almost like a helmet of sorts, that you would wear during war. And what you get is what I'm wearing right now. And there's a lot of variations of this. There's people who wear like a pointed one. There's round ones. There's tall ones. There's all sorts of turbans. And that has, of course, like changed over time as perfections.
But the key is, Sikhism is a very peaceful religion, though.
It's a peaceful religion. If I could compare it to any religion, I'd do it to Buddhism. But it's and although it's not a part of Buddhism, although it's similar, the one belief that's very strict is that you never want to engage first, but if someone is persecuting you, if someone's coming after you, you're supposed to stand up and fight back.
Yeah, and protect other people.
And protect other religions, whether that be throughout history, whether that be Muslims or Hindus, it's a key factor that you want to protect anyone's right to praise whatever God that they want to.
Yeah, that's a really important piece of Sikhism. Yeah. Hey, so I see you have the kara.
Yeah.
I wore a kara for many years, and I didn't, and I took it off at some point, maybe about 3 years ago, but for me, the kara was just a symbol. It just reminded me of my connection, right? Like in the way that. Well, explain it.
Yeah. Sikhs have 5 Ks that we follow. One of them is Turban. Turban is sword. It's a double-edged sword that any baptized Sikh wears. I'm not fully baptized Sikh, but they wear Turban. Second is Gesh, which is hair. I do have. Third is Kachera, which is like this loose garment that you wear. Turban, Gesh, and then Kada is one of them. Kada is probably the easiest if you're in public ever, and someone has their hair cut, you can't tell if they're Sikh or not. Usually, a Kada is your sign. Kada, there's a lot of meanings to it. A lot of people have their own meanings for it. For me, I wear on my dominant hand. It's kind of like before doing anything, it's kind of like a reminder of what you're doing, whether that be anything bad, good, whatever it may be. That God is, it's kind of like it's always with you. And also historically, the purpose of this would be, it was a lot thicker in one point, and they would wear these on both of their hands. So if a sword was to strike your arm, it would hit the kara first before your hand. Today it's gotten smaller, and some of them get darker silver, and there's gold ones. But so that's one of the reasons that we wear a kara.
Dude, wow. Okay, so a couple things on the. Can you go to the next slide? So I was in. So Brendan, we used to have our team meetings we had a project in Afghanistan, and our team meetings in New Delhi. So this was one of the temples I went to, and really felt connected here. Go to the next slide. This is our members of our team. That's Mr. Rashidi on the left, who's probably watching today. They're from Afghanistan. The guy on the right that's Maziar from Iran, and the woman in the middle is from Penn State. And the next slide, though, is the one I want to show you. Go to the next one. So this is the kitchen, right? This is the dining area. So part of, and the reason I feel really connected to Sikhism because of, first off, the tenets, every one of them, including the Mother Earth. The earth itself is sacred, is really sacred. And I feel that connection. But also ministering to those who don't have. Yeah. So like in the temple, it's like you're always feeding people. So in this particular temple, every day they fed tens of thousands of people.
Our main Gurdwara is in Amritsar. It's in Punjab. That's called the Harmandir Sahib. It's we call it the Golden Temple. But there you can always get a free meal, 24/7, 365, constantly. And that's because it's one of our core beliefs that everyone. So as you can see, there's only mats. There's no tables or anything like that, and that's because. One of the core beliefs in the very beginning is that everyone's equal. Doesn't matter if you're rich, doesn't matter if you're poor. Yeah. So this is one of the times when if you're eating, you're all eating on the floor. You're all eating.
And you don't know who you're eating next to.
It doesn't matter. When I went to the Harmandir Sahib in India, and we were having langar, which is that free community meal, I sat down to some workers who had been working all day on construction outside, and they looked over and they were like, "Are you an American?" And I was like, "Yeah." But it kind of hit in that moment that these people, it was their first meal of the day. They were, working outside all day, and I had the privilege of just walking in and having a meal. But it's very much a big belief that if you are eating, if you are going to this, not only is it free for everyone, there's no charge, there's no service or anything like that, but also a very big emphasis on everyone being equal.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, that's cool. It really feels, I think that so many religions have that. The focus on egalitarianism, right? And it is important, but I find that so interesting about Sikhism is that emphasis. So when I know people don't understand turbans, and I know it's like, this is a really cool religion. It's the 5th largest religion in the world. Yeah. So it's like we ought to really know what it is, Dude, awesome, man. That's it. Dude.
When I started my first semester, so that was in the fall actually, like the first few days on campus, I was kind of just like looking around trying to see if it's a big campus. There's 50,000 students, right? Student body, but I didn't. And I can see some Sikhs here and there, but one of the things about wearing a turban is it's a very difficult thing to do. I don't think that it's an easy thing to do necessarily, just because I do know Sikhs who go to the school who don't wear it. They wear a hat instead. Or they'll tie their hair back and put a bandana on or one of those things, because it is hard to just stick out. It's hard to just walk into a room and just instantly have always have everybody's eyes are always on you because you're just sticking out. So although there are many Sikhs on campus, some of them don't wear the turban, not out of spite, not out of anger, or any of those things, but truly because if you're, for example, like an international student, you're already faced with so many struggles as an international student, like not knowing the language. You don't want to stand out more on top of that.
Yeah, and but it's a thing. This is always the case. Like, when I travel abroad, how much is it? How comfortable am I just letting it really be known that I don't know, I'm an American or whatever, which is fine. It's not a problem with that, but it's kind of like sometimes we want to blend in and sometimes we want to be who we are. And so you're being who you are. This is your ancestry, it's your religion, it's your background. So I really appreciate that. Dude, that's it, man. Thanks, man.